My name is Emily Hart. I'm 31 years old. At 8:43 on a Thursday night in November, I stood in my parents' laundry room holding an empty shoebox. Not a dramatic empty shoebox. Not one of those moments where music swells and someone gasps. Just a plain gray shoebox from a pair of work flats I had bought 3 years earlier, sitting on the dryer beneath a stack of faded towels, with the lid slightly crooked, and nothing inside except one old rubber band and the faint smell of cardboard. That box was supposed to hold $8,600, my emergency savings, cash I had built slowly over 18 months after leaving a bad apartment, a worse relationship, and a version of myself that had spent too long believing stability was something other people had. I kept it at my parents' house because when I moved back to Ohio after the breakup, my new apartment was tiny, my door lock was questionable, and my mother had said, "Leave it here, honey. It'll be safer with us." Safer. That word sat in my chest like a stone. I had wrapped the money in 3 paper bands and placed it beneath old tax envelopes in the shoebox. I had written winter scarves on the side with a black marker because my parents' laundry room shelves were full of random storage, and nobody cared about winter scarves in July. My mother had watched me do it. My father had stood in the doorway and said, "Smart girl, always good to have backup." Backup. My backup was gone. I stood there with my coat still on, keys in one hand, the empty box in the other, while the washer hummed behind me, and my parents sat in the living room, watching a game show, like the world had not just opened under my feet. I walked into the doorway. "Mom?" My mother, Linda Hart, looked over the back of the sofa. "What is it, honey?" My father, George, did not look away from the television. "Where's the money in my shoebox?" The room changed. Not loudly, subtly. My mother's face tightened for half a second, then softened into the expression she used when she was about to explain why someone else's emergency mattered more than my boundary. My father muted the television. That was when I knew. He never muted the television unless something was already decided. "Emily," Mom said, "don't get upset." I almost laughed. The sentence people use when they know they have earned your anger. I held up the empty box. "Where is my money?" Dad rubbed his face. "We were going to talk to you." "When?" Mom stood and smoothed her sweater. "Your sister needed help." "My sister." "Of course. Ashley, 28 years old." Beautiful, chaotic, endlessly forgiven Ashley. Ashley with the emergency rent. Ashley with the grocery crisis. Ashley with the broken car, the overdraft fees, the boyfriend who never had gas money, the job she was always about to start, the apartment she could not keep, the promises she made in tears and forgot in the morning. I stared at my mother. "You gave Ashley my emergency savings?" Mom's eyes filled immediately. She was going to be evicted. "That was my money." "She has children, Emily." Ashley had one child, my nephew Caleb, age 4. I loved him deeply. I also knew my sister had used him as a shield. So often the whole family had stopped noticing the dents. Dad said, "It was rent and groceries. We couldn't let Caleb be homeless." I looked at him. "You gave away $8,600? Mom flinched. "It wasn't all at once." That somehow made it worse. I felt my fingers tighten around the shoebox. "How many times?" No one answered. "How many times did you open this box and take my money?" Dad looked at the floor. Mom whispered, "3. 3. 3 separate decisions. 3 separate betrayals. 3 moments when my parents stood in that laundry room, opened a box labeled winter scarves, took money I had trusted them to protect, and decided my emergency could wait because Ashley's emergency had arrived louder. I set the shoebox on the coffee table, carefully. If I threw it, they would talk about the throw instead of the theft. That money was for me. Mom began crying. "I know, honey." "No, you knew before you took it." Dad's face hardened slightly. "Emily, don't talk to your mother like that." I turned to him. "She stole my savings." "We're your parents. That doesn't make it less stolen." Mom gasped softly, as if the word had hurt her more than the act had hurt me. Dad stood. "You're being selfish." There it was. The family hammer. Selfish. The word they used when I stopped paying quietly. The word they used when I asked Ashley to return borrowed clothes. The word they used when I moved out instead of staying to help Mom after her knee surgery, though I had already taken 2 weeks off work. The word they used when I said no to co-signing Ashley's car loan. The word they now used because I wanted my own emergency money back. I looked around their living room. The new recliner. The cable box. The framed family photos. The phone chargers on the side table. The tablet I had bought Mom last Christmas. The internet router I paid for every month because Dad said retirement made bills tight. Their cell phones. Their phone plan. My phone plan. For 4 years, I had quietly paid my parents' phone bill because they were between plans, then trying to save, then not tech people, then simply used to it. I paid the family plan, phones, data, insurance, taxes, all of it. $214 every month. I also covered their internet half the time, bought groceries when Mom hinted, paid for Dad's prescription once when his card declined, and never called it support because I did not want them to feel ashamed. They were not ashamed, they were entitled. What they did not know was that I had been reviewing my budget for weeks, trying to rebuild after the move, saving for a safer car, and calculating how much faster I could recover if I stopped covering bills that were never mine. What Ashley did not know was that my emergency cash was not the only quiet support in the family. What my parents absolutely did not know was that the next morning, while they expected me to calm down and keep paying their phone plan like a good daughter, I would call the carrier, remove their lines from my account, and let all 3 of them discover what selfish costs when the selfish person stops subsidizing everyone. This is that story. Before I tell you how my parents learned that taking my savings and calling me selfish did not make me their bank, tell me where you are watching or listening from, and what time it is there. I always wonder who hears stories like this while remembering the moment family confused your kindness with a standing withdrawal. And if you connect with stories about women who were used, underestimated, blamed, and quietly took their power back, like and subscribe to Ultimate Revenge. Some women do not scream in the laundry room. Some women cancel the phone plan. I grew up in Akron, Ohio, in a small, split-level house with a cracked driveway, a basketball hoop no one used after middle school, and a mother who believed peace meant giving Ashley whatever she needed before she started crying. My parents were not bad people in the way strangers imagine bad people. They came to school plays. They made pancakes on snow days. My dad taught me to check tire pressure. My mom braided my hair before picture day and kept every handmade card we ever gave her in a plastic bin under her bed. But love in our house had a pattern. Ashley needed. Emily understood. Ashley cried. Emily adjusted. Ashley made a mess. Emily helped clean it. My mother called me her steady girl. My father called me practical. Those words sounded like compliments until I realized they were also assignments. Ashley was the younger one. Golden hair, big hazel eyes, a laugh that made adults forgive her before she apologized. She was funny, dramatic, and helpless in a way that looked charming until it became expensive. If Ashley forgot homework, Mom drove it to school. If I forgot mine, Mom said, "That's how we learn." If Ashley overdrew her checking account at 19, Dad paid the fee because one mistake shouldn't ruin her week. If I asked for help with textbooks, he said, "You're good at budgeting, figure it out." I did. That was the problem. I figured things out so well that everyone assumed I did not need help. The symbolic object in this story was a green spiral notebook. I bought it when I was 26, after I moved into my first apartment with a man named Ryan who had charm, debt, and a talent for making me feel unreasonable for wanting rent paid on time. The notebook started as a budget tracker. Rent, utilities, groceries, gas, debt payoff, savings. Then it became a survival manual. After Ryan and I broke up, I used that notebook to rebuild. I wrote everything down. Every paycheck, every bill, every cash envelope, every goal. Emergency fund, $10,000. Safe car fund, $4,000. Moving fund, replenished. Dental work, retirement, Christmas, freedom. Freedom had its own line. When I finally left Ryan, I had $2, $300 saved, and one duffel bag packed in the trunk of my car. He told me I was overreacting. My mother told me I could come home for a little while. My father said, "We'll help you reset." For a while, they did. They let me stay in my childhood room for 2 months. Mom made soup, Dad looked at my car because it made a grinding noise. Ashley brought Caleb over and said, "Aunt Emmy lives here now," as if I were a fun surprise, instead of a woman sleeping under a high school soccer poster because her life had collapsed. I was grateful, truly. But gratitude can become a leash if you let the giver hold it too long. After I moved into my own apartment, I kept helping my parents. Not because they demanded it first, because I wanted to. They were in their 60s. Dad had retired early after a shoulder injury. Mom worked part-time at a medical billing office, but complained constantly about software changes. Money was tighter for them than they admitted. I added their phone lines to my plan because the family discount made sense. "Just until we figure out something cheaper," Dad said. That was 4 years ago. Then I paid the internet once because they forgot. Then again. Then regularly. Then Mom would call and say, "We're a little short until Friday," and I would send $100 for groceries. Dad needed a prescription. Ashley needed diapers. Mom's car needed tires. The refrigerator broke. The property taxes were higher than expected. Each thing was real. Each thing was understandable. Each thing took a little piece of me. I still saved. That was my private pride. I worked as an accounts coordinator for a regional supplier. Not glamorous, but steady. I made decent money, not enormous money. I packed lunches, bought clothes on sale, drove an older Honda, and avoided debt like it had teeth. Every month, I took cash from the bank and added it to the shoebox until it became heavy. The cash made me feel safe. Maybe that sounds old-fashioned. I know banks exist. I had savings there too. But after Ryan monitored our shared account and questioned every purchase, cash felt like something no one could freeze, track, or argue with. It was mine because I had earned it, counted it, wrapped it, and hidden it. When I moved into my current apartment, the building had security issues. A package stolen. A weird downstairs neighbor. A door lock that stuck. I did not want that much cash there until I could install better storage. My mother offered the laundry room shelf. "No one touches anything there," she said. She was wrong. Or worse, she was right until she did. For months, the money stayed untouched. I checked it twice. Counted it once after adding $400. Then life got busy. Work changed systems. I had a dental bill. Caleb started preschool. Mom complained about Dad leaving socks everywhere. Ashley broke up with another boyfriend, then got back together, then broke up again. The family kept spinning in familiar circles. Then, in September, Ashley called crying. Not unusual. She said rent was late. Her hours had been cut. Caleb needed groceries. Her landlord was being heartless. I asked how much she needed. She said, "I don't know, like $2,000. I laughed before I could stop myself. $2,000? Emily, don't make me feel worse. I'm not. I just don't have $2,000 to give you. You have savings. My body went still. What? You always have savings. That does not mean it's available. For your nephew? There it was, Caleb as shield. I said, I can send $200 for groceries. I cannot pay your rent. She cried harder. You don't understand what it's like to have a child. No, Ashley, I understand what it's like to plan before emergencies. She hung up. Mom called 30 minutes later. You hurt your sister. I offered grocery money. She needs rent. I don't have rent money for her. Emily, you're doing better than she is. That does not make me responsible for her landlord. Mom sighed. I just wish you had more compassion. I sent the $200 because that is what conditioning does. It loses the argument and still transfers money. 2 weeks later, Ashley posted photos from a pumpkin patch with Caleb, holding a cider donut and wearing a new sweater. I told myself, maybe someone else paid. Maybe it was cheap. Maybe joy mattered. Maybe I was becoming hard. That last thought scared me. Women like me are easy to manipulate because we are terrified that boundaries will make us cruel. They do not. They make us honest. The second warning came when Dad asked me if I could cover the phone plan early because his line had some message about payment. It auto-drafts from my account, I said. Oh, Why would it message you? Maybe data usage. I checked the bill. Extra charges. International call add-ons. Device protection upgrade on Ashley's old line, which was still attached because Mom said keeping her on the plan helped with Caleb's emergency calls. Ashley had not paid her share in 14 months. I texted the group chat, "The phone bill is $278 this month because of extra charges. I need everyone to stop adding features without asking," Ashley replied. "Sorry, Caleb watches videos," Dad replied. "We'll be more careful," Mom replied with a heart. "No one sent money. I paid it." The third warning was the empty shoebox. I had gone to my parents' house that Thursday because I needed $1,500 from the emergency fund to cover a used car deposit. My Honda had finally reached the point where repairs cost more than dignity. I had found a reliable used Toyota through a coworker's cousin. Cash deposit by Friday. I told Mom I was stopping by. She sounded too cheerful. "Tonight? Oh, okay." I should have heard it. When I arrived, she was folding laundry. Dad was watching TV. Ashley's car was not there. Caleb's toy dinosaur sat on the coffee table. I went to the laundry room, lifted the towels, pulled down the box, and found nothing. Empty. My emergency did not matter until they had already spent it. The conversation in the living room lasted 20 minutes, though it felt like a year. Mom cried. Dad defended. I asked for the dates. They refused. I asked how much went to rent and how much to groceries. Mom said, "Does that really matter?" Yes, it mattered. Dad said, "Ashley will pay you back." When? She's trying. She doesn't even know I know. Mom whispered, "We didn't want her to feel ashamed." I looked at them both. "So you protected her shame with my money?" Dad's face darkened. "You are making this uglier than it needs to be." "No, you made it ugly in private. I'm noticing out loud." Mom cried harder. Dad called me selfish. Then I picked up the shoebox, took it with me, and left. The next morning, I woke at 5:30 after almost no sleep. My phone was full of messages. "Mom, please don't let this ruin the family." "Dad, we need to talk when you calm down." "Ashley." Mom said, "You're mad at me? What did I do now?" That last one nearly made me throw the phone. What did I do now? I opened my green notebook and wrote one sentence across a clean page. Stop funding people who steal from you. Then I made coffee. At 8, I called the phone carrier. The representative was named Marcus. He was cheerful in the professional way people are before hearing family disasters. "How can I help today?" "I need to remove 3 lines from my plan." He verified my identity. "Are you transferring them to another account or canceling?" "Canceling service for those lines at the end of the billing cycle unless they port them out." "Okay, I can help with that. Just so you know, they'll receive notifications." "That's fine." I removed my parents' lines. I removed Ashley's line. I canceled device protection. I removed extra data features. I changed the account PIN. I paid the remaining balance on my line only. Then I called the internet provider and removed my card from my parents' account. Then I changed every password they might know. Then I froze the small shared emergency transfer I had set up years earlier to send Mom grocery money quickly. By 9:15, the quiet support had ended. At 9:40, Dad called. I let it ring. At 9:42, Mom called. At 9:45, Ashley called. At 9:50, the group chat exploded. "Dad? Why did we get messages from the phone company?" Mom. "Emily, please call us. Your father is upset." Ashley. "Did you seriously cut off my phone?" I replied, "You have until the end of the billing cycle to move your lines. I am no longer paying for phone service, internet, or emergency transfers. My emergency savings must be repaid in full." Dad. "This is ridiculous. We need phones." Me. "So did I need my savings." Mom. "You are punishing us." Me. "I am stopping financial support after you gave away my money without permission." Ashley. "I needed rent and groceries. Sorry my life isn't perfect like yours." Me. "You received $8, $600 of my emergency savings." Send repayment plan by Monday. Ashley. I did not get that much. There. The first crack. I sat up straighter. Me. Ask Mom and Dad. No one responded for 9 minutes. Then Ashley called again. I answered. She was shouting, $8,600? That is what was in the box. I didn't get $8,000. How much did you get? I don't know, like $3,000, maybe $3,500. My hand tightened around the notebook. For rent and groceries? Yes. What about the rest? How would I know? Mom said you had money set aside and you wanted to help. I closed my eyes. She said I wanted to help? Ashley paused. Didn't you? No. Silence. Then, smaller, oh. That one word changed the shape of the betrayal. My parents had not only taken money for Ashley, they had taken more than Ashley received. Send me every amount Mom and Dad gave you from my savings, I said. Ashley's voice sharpened again, defensive from fear. I don't have records. Then make them. I can't deal with this right now. You dealt with spending it. She hung up. I need to pause here for a second. If you have ever watched family take your safety net and then act offended when you stopped paying for theirs, you know exactly what that morning felt like. It was not about a phone plan. It was about realizing people who called you selfish had been living quietly on your support. If this story's hitting close to home, leave a comment and tell me what bill you finally stopped paying. And if you have not already, subscribe to Ultimate Revenge. The quiet part is over. I did not go to work that day. I took a personal day, opened my laptop, and built the spreadsheet. Of course I did. I am an accounts coordinator. When my life falls apart, I make columns. Column A, date. Column B, support provided. Column C, amount. Column D, recipient. Column E, reason given. Column F, repayment promised. Column G, repaid. Column H, notes. I started with the phone plan. 4 years of payments. I did not count the first 6 months, because I had offered them clearly as help. After that, the temporary support had become assumed. I listed the last 36 months. Phone plan support for Mom, Dad, Ashley, $7.842. Internet payments, $2.160. Grocery transfers, $1.950. Dad prescriptions and medical, $740. Ashley emergency transfers I could verify, $3, $420. Car tires for Mom, $612. Caleb preschool registration, $300. Total quiet support, not including gifts, $17.024. Then the missing shoebox, $8.600. Total financial impact, $25.624. I stared at that number until my eyes blurred. $25,624. Not all stolen. Some given, some guilted, some hinted, some extracted through tears. But all of it money I did not have now. Money that could have bought the safe car. Money that could have strengthened my emergency fund. Money that could have let me breathe. I was not rich. I was disciplined. My family had mistaken the difference. By Monday, Ashley sent a messy list. Mom gave her $200 for rent in September, $400 cash for groceries, $600 in October for car insurance, $500 toward daycare because Caleb's father was late with child support. Total, $3,700. Not $8, $600. I asked if she was sure. She sent screenshots of texts from Mom. Mom, we helped with rent from Emily's box. Don't tell her yet. She'll be upset, but she doesn't need it right now. Mom, I can give you another $600 from the cashier. Emily is doing okay. Mom, your sister will understand eventually. Caleb comes first. Emily is doing okay. That sentence made me colder than the theft. My parents had looked at my careful life and decided it meant I had extra. They had looked at Ashley's chaos and decided it meant she had priority. I called my mother. She answered crying. Emily, where is the other $4,900? Silence. What? Ashley received $3, $700. My box had $8, $600. Where is the other $4, $900? Dad came on the line. Don't interrogate your mother. Then you answer. He breathed heavily. Some of it went to household expenses. Whose household? Our household. I closed my eyes. Explain. The property insurance came due. We had utilities. Your mother needed dental work. The car registration. We were going to replace it. I laughed once. Not because it was funny. Because there it was. Ashley had been the excuse. They had used my savings for themselves too. How much? Dad said, I don't have every number in front of me. I need every number by Friday. You don't give us deadlines. I do now. Mom sobbed in the background. Dad said, you are acting like we're criminals. I said, you opened a hidden cash box and spent money that was not yours. We raised you. And now you're billing me for it? He went quiet. I continued, I want a written repayment plan by Friday. I want the phone lines ported or canceled. I want my card removed from every account. If I find one more charge, I will treat it as fraud. You would call the police on your parents? I looked at the green notebook. No. I would call the police on people who stole $8, $600. He hung up. The family response split quickly. Aunt Carol, Mom's sister, called to say I was being harsh. You know your parents struggle, she said. They spent my emergency savings. They should not have done that but canceling their phones. I gave them until the end of the billing cycle to transfer service. They're older. They are 64 and 66, not lost pioneers. Aunt Carol sighed. You always were rigid. No, I said. I was useful. You liked that better. She hung up. My cousin Rachel texted privately. For what it's worth, Mom says you're being mean, but I'd be furious. Also, they told everyone you offered the money. There it was again. The story. I asked Rachel to send screenshots if anything was posted in the family group chat. She did. Mom had written, please pray for our family. Emily is very angry that we used some savings to help Ashley and Caleb. We thought family money should help family, but she has cut off our phones in support. Family money. I stared at those words. Family money. My emergency savings had been rebranded. I replied in the group chat for the first time in months. The money was not family money. It was my personal emergency savings. $8, $600 cash stored at Mom and Dad's house for safekeeping. It was taken without my permission. Ashley confirmed she received $3, $700. Mom and Dad have not accounted for the remaining $4, $900. I have also paid approximately $17,000 in phone, internet, grocery, medical, and emergency support over the past several years. I am no longer paying bills for adults who took my savings and called me selfish for asking about it. Then I attached the spreadsheet. Clean, simple, no insults, just records. The group chat went silent for 23 minutes. Then Grandma Hart, my father's mother who is 87 and rarely used punctuation, wrote, George, call your daughter and apologize. I almost cried. Dad did not call. But the silence around the family changed. People stopped texting me about being harsh. Aunt Carol sent one message. I did not know the full amount. I replied, now you do. By Friday, my parents sent a handwritten repayment plan. It was terrible. $100 a month until repaid. No accounting, no apology. No mention of the phone plan. I rejected it. I wrote back. Minimum repayment required. $500 per month until $8, $600 is repaid. First payment due December 1st. Provide written accounting of where funds went. Ashley is responsible for $3, $700 unless you choose to repay her portion yourselves. You are responsible for the full amount because you had custody of the money. I will not resume phone, internet, or other bill payments. Dad replied, impossible. I replied, so was finding my emergency savings empty. Ashley called that evening. For once, she was not yelling. I talked to Mom, she said, and she said they used some for bills. Yes. I didn't know you didn't approve. I believe that now. She sniffed. Do you hate me? I leaned back. No. Are you sure? No, I'm angry at you. That's different. I really did need rent. I know. Caleb needed groceries. I know. I thought you were helping. I know. She cried softly. What do I do? Pay back your portion. I can't. You can make a plan. I'm barely making it. Ashley, barely making it is not a reason to keep someone else's emergency money. She was quiet. Then she said, I know. That was new. I can do $150 a month. I closed my eyes. At that rate, it would take forever. But it was a beginning. And unlike my parents, she had named her portion. Send it in writing, I said. I will. And stop letting Mom use Caleb to get money from me. She inhaled sharply. I don't do that. You do. Silence. Then, small, okay. Ashley's first payment arrived on December 1st. $150. Memo. Repayment. My parents sent nothing, but on December 3rd, their phone lines disconnected. That morning, Mom called me from Aunt Carol's phone. Emily, our phones are off. I know. How are we supposed to manage? Set up your own plan. Your father is furious. I assumed. This is humiliating. So was standing in the laundry room with an empty shoebox. Mom began crying. I said I was sorry. No, you didn't. She went quiet. Then, very softly, I am sorry. I waited. For what specifically? She made a small wounded sound. Emily, please. No. Specifically. A long pause. For taking your money. And? For giving it to Ashley without asking. And? For using some for our bills. And? For acting like you were selfish when you asked about it. I closed my eyes. The apology was late. It was not complete. But it had shape. Thank you, I said. Will you turn the phones back on? No. She started crying again. This time, I did not fix it. The next 3 months were ugly. My parents missed 2 repayment deadlines. I sent written reminders. Dad called me cold. I sent him the total again. Mom asked if they could count Christmas gifts toward repayment. I said no. Ashley paid every month, sometimes late by a few days, but she paid. That mattered. I bought the Toyota anyway. Not with my emergency fund. With financing I had not wanted and a smaller down payment from my bank savings. Every payment reminded me of the shoebox. That anger kept me disciplined. I also opened a high-yield savings account and moved all emergency savings there. No more cash at anyone's house. No more secret boxes. No more trusting people who thought access meant permission. Then, in February, Dad had a minor health scare. Chest pain. Emergency room. Not a heart attack, thank God, but enough to scare everyone. Mom called from the hospital using her new prepaid phone, voice shaking. Emily, can you come? I went. Not because they deserved immediate rescue. Because I am still their daughter, and love does not vanish just because trust does. Dad was in a hospital bed, pale and irritated. Mom sat beside him holding a paper cup of water. Ashley was there with Caleb, looking scared. When Dad saw me, his face shifted. Guilt, pride, relief, all fighting for space. I stood at the foot of the bed. Hi. He swallowed. Hi. For a while, we talked about medical things. Test results, observation, follow-up, diet, medication. I took notes because that is who I am, and I no longer hate that about myself. When Mom stepped out with Ashley, Dad looked at me. You came. Yes. Even though you're mad. Yes. He stared at the blanket. I was wrong. I did not move, he continued. I told myself, because we were your parents, because we had helped you before, because Ashley had Caleb, because you always had money tucked away, that it wasn't like stealing. His voice cracked on the last word. But it was. Yes, I said. He nodded. I'm sorry. I waited. For taking the money, for using some for us, for calling you selfish, for making you feel like being careful meant you owed everyone. That was the first apology from my father that reached the right room. My throat tightened. Thank you. I don't know how we pay it back fast. You pay it back steadily. He nodded. We will. He looked at me then. You shouldn't pay our bills anymore. No. I know. Good. That hospital bed did what the living room could not. It made him honest. After that, payments came. Not always easily. But they came. My parents sold the new recliner, canceled cable, switched to a cheaper phone plan, and started paying $350 a month. Ashley continued $150. Together, $500 a month. It would take time, but the debt was moving in the right direction. The family correction happened at Easter. Grandma Hart insisted everyone come. I almost skipped. Then she called me herself. I'm old, she said. Come eat ham before I die. Grandma. What? It works. I went. The air was tense at first. Mom hugged me carefully. Dad looked embarrassed. Ashley brought deviled eggs and avoided my eyes until Caleb ran to hug my legs and asked if I still had the blue car, meaning the Honda. I told him I had a silver car now, and he demanded to see it. Children are merciful because they care about important things like car colors. Before dinner, Grandma tapped her fork against her glass. George has something to say, she announced. Dad looked like he wanted the floor to swallow him. Good. He stood. I owe Emily an apology in front of the family, he said. The room went still. Mom began crying quietly, but she did not interrupt. Dad continued. Linda and I used money that belonged to Emily. Some went to help Ashley. Some went to our bills. Emily did not give permission. It was not family money, it was hers. Aunt Carol looked at her plate. Dad looked at me. When she stopped paying our phones and support, I called her selfish. She wasn't. She had already been helping us more than we admitted. We were wrong. He sat down. No one clapped. No one needed to. Ashley stood next, surprising everyone. I also need to say I accepted money I thought Emily approved, and when I found out she didn't, I still got defensive because I was embarrassed. I'm paying her back. I'm sorry, Em. She looked at Caleb, who was coloring a rabbit green. I don't want my son growing up thinking other people's savings are his backup plan. That sentence mattered. I nodded. Thank you. Grandma Hart said, good. Now eat before everything gets cold. That was the most Hart family ending possible. The repayments took 17 months. 17 months of transfers. $350 from Mom and Dad. $150 from Ashley. Sometimes extra at tax time. Sometimes a late apology with a late payment. Sometimes silence. Every payment went into my new emergency account. I named it mine. Maybe that sounds petty. It was healing. The day the final $240 arrived, I opened my green notebook and wrote, $8, 600 restored. Then beneath it, trust is not restored by repayment, but repayment stops the bleeding. That was true. I did not resume the phone plan. I did not resume internet payments. I did not become the emergency transfer daughter again. When Mom hinted once about groceries, Dad said, Linda, in a warning tone, and she stopped herself. Ashley got better too. Not perfect. Better. She joined a budgeting class through a local nonprofit after her landlord threatened not to renew. She set up automatic rent. She applied for child care assistance. She stopped calling every inconvenience an emergency. Sometimes she still panicked. Sometimes she still cried. But she no longer called me first for money. She called to ask, can you help me make a plan? That was different. Plans do not require surrendering your wallet. One Saturday, she came over with Caleb and a folder. I made an emergency fund, she said. I blinked. You did? It's only $300. That counts. She smiled shyly. I keep it in the bank, not Mom's laundry room. I laughed. So did she. That laugh did more repair than any family lecture. My parents changed slowly. Mom had the hardest time. She had spent decades measuring love by who sacrificed fastest. She did not know what to do when I stopped joining the competition. At first, she treated every boundary like a weather event. Then, over time, she learned to ask without expectation. Can we invite you to dinner? Are you available to drive me to the dentist, or should I ask Carol? Would you be comfortable helping me compare phone plans? That one made me smile. I helped compare. I did not pay. Dad became more direct. He sent payment confirmations. He apologized again when I bought the Toyota, and he realized I had financed more because the savings were gone. He came over and changed my apartment deadbolt without being asked. When I tried to pay him, he shook his head. "No," he said, "this one is dad work." I let him have that. Love did not disappear, but the direction changed. It no longer flowed only out of me. The shoebox is still in my closet, empty. I thought about throwing it away, but I kept it as a reminder, not of betrayal only, of a lesson I paid dearly to learn. Emergency savings cannot be stored with people who think your emergencies are theoretical. Kindness cannot survive without boundaries. And if someone calls you selfish for refusing to fund their life, it may be because they already counted your money as theirs. The phone plan cancellation became a family joke eventually, but not the kind where I am the punchline. At Caleb's 6th birthday, Dad's prepaid phone rang loudly during cake. He fumbled to silence it, and Grandma Hart said, "Careful, George, or Emily will cancel you again." Everyone froze. Then Dad laughed. I earned that. I laughed too, not because it was small, because it was over enough to joke about without lying. 2 years later, I am not rich, but I am safe. My emergency fund is larger than it was. My Toyota runs without grinding. My apartment has a secure lock, a real safe, and a small balcony full of herbs. I still help my family sometimes, but now help has a shape. A gift is labeled gift. A loan is written down. A no is complete. And my parents no longer have access to anything they did not earn, own, or ask for properly. The final lesson is not that you should never help family. Family help can be beautiful. A bag of groceries can be love. A phone bill paid during a crisis can be relief. A spare room after heartbreak can save someone's life. I know that because I have received help too. The lesson is that help given freely is not permission to take more. Trust is not a shared account. Emergency savings are not family money. And if people can open your box 3 times without asking, they can learn to open their own phone bill. My parents gave my sister my emergency savings, then called me selfish for canceling their phone plan. And when the spreadsheet reached the family chat, when Ashley admitted she had not received the full amount, when Dad finally stood at Easter and said the money was mine, the story changed. I was not selfish. I was finished. Finished being the quiet payer. Finished being the steady daughter taxed for being careful. Finished letting other people's emergencies empty the box I built for my own. Thank you for staying with me through this story. I know some of you have been the reliable one, the saver, the helper, the person everyone assumes can spare it because you planned better. If Emily's story reached you, I hope you remember that your emergency fund is not a community resource unless you choose to make it one. You are allowed to stop paying bills that were never yours. You are allowed to ask where your money went. And you are allowed to let people experience the cost of taking you for granted. Subscribe to Ultimate Revenge for more stories about quiet women, family betrayal, silent comebacks, and the moment the support finally stops. So tell me, if your parents gave your emergency savings to your sister and then called you selfish for canceling the phone plan you had been paying for years, would you keep helping for family peace? Or would you cut the bill and make them repay every dollar?